Trust me. Go ahead. Snip it. This single stem vining, it can look brutal, but it's, I think, one of the secrets to growing tomatoes almost disease-free or minimal. Today I want to show you how I do the single stem pruning. The single stem pruning for tomatoes and why it is important, especially if you are growing indeterminate tomatoes. That's the kind of tomatoes that can grow almost indefinitely if the weather is right. But of course, for us here who have winter, tomatoes cannot grow indefinitely. So we have two kinds of tomatoes, determinate and indeterminate. Determinate tomatoes produce all of their flowers, all of their fruits at once. You harvest and it's done. Indeterminate tomatoes can just keep growing and growing. And so if you do not prune, it's going to produce a bunch of foliage. And when you have a bunch of foliage all over the place, you just drastically improve the chances of disease. So you do not want that. So yes, this single stem vining, it can look brutal, but it's, I think, one of the secrets to growing tomatoes almost minimizes the chances of disease. So what are we talking about? Well, so you see this tomato plant right here. You see these tomatoes. This is the main vine of the tomato going up. But then the tomato wants to produce what is known as suckers. Let me see if I can find the suckers over here because I've been pinching them off. You see all this one, that is a sucker. You know, this little vine coming off right from here, like between the main stem and the leaf. This is a sucker which has the potential of becoming a whole vine and a whole nother tomato if you let it. And it basically wants to produce these little vines or suckers all over the place. If you let it grow, again, this is all going to become vines and it will make a tangled up mess. I made this mistake before when I just started growing tomatoes. I thought, oh my gosh, look at all these vines. I'm going to get a bunch of tomatoes. And then I was hit with this fungal disease. And that was the end of the tomato gardening that year until I learned this lesson. So single stem vining. What we want is just a single stem going up the trellis system. I don't want more than one or at most two. But in this initial stage of growth, I go around very frequently and pinch off the suckers. So I just have one stem. When it gets to like this stage, it becomes tricky because like that is the main vine going that way. This is another one that has formed. It wants to split into two. If you let it, it's going to split into 4, into 8, into 16, and then again, a tangled up mess. So I do my single stem pruning or single stem vining up to about this level in the trellis. Let me stand up so I can give you a perspective. Up to about this level. I don't know if that's 3 feet or 2 feet. I don't know. At least that level. And then if it wants to branch out into 2, I can let it. But I want the bottom to be free of a bunch of foliage so we have airflow. Nothing is touching the ground, or when I water, nothing splashes from the ground back to the leaves, and my tomatoes stay nice and healthy. So what you need, everybody should invest in a good set of pruners for gardening. Is one of the basic tools. I do have a video sharing about what I consider basic tools for gardening. Invest in one. I'm gonna link up this particular one in the comment section, in the description box below if you want to get it. But then again, I know this looks brutal, but we want this one to go right here. So, and always make sure that your pruners are clean because you're wounding the tomatoes, especially when you're pruning these big ones. It's better to prune when it's very tiny like this because I can just pinch it off without harming the tomatoes much. But when it starts to become really big, you want to use your pruners. So this one has to go. So I have just a single stem going up. Let's see. And some of those vines, those suckers would want to hide. Go ahead and prune them. Please ignore my nails. Ignore my nails. Okay, so we just go ahead. See that? Get rid of this one. So we have just a single stem going, a single vine going up the trellis. So that is single vine pruning. I learned this a couple of years ago and it's been a lifesaver. It's been one of the things that has enabled me to grow tomatoes. So I'm just going to go ahead and pinch off all of the suckers. Make sure that I just have that one vine going up. One vine going up. We don't want more than one. This one needs to go. And you need to do this periodically. Like I can promise you 2 days ago I came out here and I pinched off tomato vines. And here we are again with more vines. Again, the young ones, you can just pinch them off. But if it's very thick, go ahead and use your pruners. You see this one? This is a whole nother vine trying to form. That one is very big, so I'm going to use my pruners. Yeah, for the thick ones, I'm going to just use that, snip it off. So I have one nice vine going up my trellis. Just pinch them off. Young, the younger they are, the better. Okay, let's see. Oh my gosh, this one here is really trying to make a tangled up mess, isn't it? Get this rid of this one. See, here, right here, we have this one that has split into two. I'm gonna get rid of this smaller one. I know that one is almost forming flowers. You can feel like, oh my gosh, but trust me, go ahead, snip it, go ahead. There's another one over here. Let's go around. I hope this really helps. You know, if you're growing tomatoes, especially for beginners, you might be making this mistake of letting a bunch of foliage. You do not want that one single vine going up. Once you see this one, we're gonna pinch off all of this. All of this. All of this has to go. All of this has to go. By the way, these are San Marzano tomatoes. I have San Marzano tomatoes, and then over there I have the red snapper tomatoes. Red snapper tomatoes are good for places with high humidity, very hot climates. These San Marzanos, I'll see how it does, is like a paste tomato, you know, tomato paste, tomato stew kind of thing. You want to grow San Marzanos, they are very good tomatoes. For that, I've never grown either the San Marzanos or the red snappers. These are my first time trying out these. So yeah. Now let's talk about the other kind of pruning. So I've shown you how I pinch off the suckers for the single vine or single stem pruning. So it goes up the trellis. The other kind of pruning is all of these bottom foliage. You don't want the bottom foliage, you don't want the leaves touching the ground. So go ahead and trim this off very regularly. So very regularly, actually several times a week, I just come out here and I make sure that I have no leaf touching the ground. I have absolutely no leaf touching the ground. All these ones facing down. So my tomatoes are always looking like clear, just like so. So we go ahead and prune that. Okay. Bottom pruning. Again, you think you catch all of the suckers, but you come back and there's still more. So inspect. Oh my gosh, see. Again, more suckers. And I thought I pinched off all of them, but no. So we do not want any leaves touching the ground. Even when it's not touching the ground, when it rains or when you water, stuff splash from the soil back to the leaves, and that's how you introduce disease So that's why we prune even at the bottom. And the last thing I'm gonna do is support my tomatoes. So I have my vine. I'm using, oh, not vine, my twine. I'm using this one right here. There are so many different kinds, or you can get creative. But what we want to do is support our tomatoes. You can see the first tie that I made, because tomatoes have very weak stems, and when it's windy and it's not supported, it can just fall over or break even. So we do not want that. So training your tomato up the trellis is important, and you do that by using some kind of a twine. So let me show you how I do it.